All right, guys, welcome back to Real Talk with Andres and Heather, the podcast where we say the quiet part out loud about real estate, business, and the situations nobody warns you about, all while we are live streaming, so there are no edits.
And this is how it is. This isn't coaching or staging from a highlight reels or social media. This is real stories, real mistakes, real money from and real consequences from agents, buyers, sellers, and business owners living it in real time. So if you're tired of the sugar-coated advice, fake gurus, and playing small because nobody tells you about it, you're in the right place. I'm Andres, and this is Heather. Let's get into some real talk.
Let's get into some real talk. Well, we're just talking about real talk, and you're telling me about the astrology event that's happening right now. So why don't we jump into that one first?
No, I was just looking it up. There's a number of things, and today we are supposed to have a total lunar eclipse, uh, blood moon. So I'm excited to see that. Hopefully, we got clear skies and be able to go outside and take a look at that today.
And you can see it from the United States. You can see it from every state, or is this just for Alabama?
No, no, this is it's everywhere. You'll be able to see that. Of course, depending on the time zone on your end, but you should be able to see it um, all throughout the world.
Awesome. Well, then I'm gonna have to look into that and find out because that'd be something really cool to see.
I know, right? I'm excited to see it. It's something else, and I know I'm curious to ask Ellie. I don't know how true this is, but she's something that she's mentioned. She worked with that dementia patient, and every time there's a full moon at night, the patients get very very impatient, very um, and start moving around too much. I'm curious to see how that is today. If there's any particular changes compared to a regular full moon than a blood moon, if there's anything in particular that happened. I'm not sure if there's any data there that tracks particular behavior according with the blood moon, but curious to know if there is any.
I've heard that before. I have a lot of family that works in healthcare. My nana was a nurse her entire life, and she always said that. She always said she hated full moons because full moons meant she was going to be busy.
Right? Imagine on a blood moon. I'm curious to see what if there's any data on that. Like, what's different? And on other things, I think the FIFA World Cup coming up. You watch soccer? You play soccer growing up, or anything like that?
My daughter plays soccer.
Yeah. You guys cheering for any particular team? U.S.
I don't. I don't really follow sports. I'm not a sports person. She has a player that she loves. I'm trying to think of his name. Something with an M, I think.
Messi?
Yes, yes, that's him. That's who she loves. Okay, that's it.
Of course, she knows her thing or two about soccer. Considered one of the best player, if not the best player in the world, for a number of years. But yeah, the FIFA World Cups are coming up just about 100 days from now, and excited to see what happens there. Excited to see, and I'm curious to see with everything going on in the world and what's happening in Iran overseas. If it's going to have any effect on the games and throughout, because I know the games this year will be played in North or in America, where they're playing games in Mexico, here in US and Canada. So I'm curious to see what happens and excited for that going. I'm a huge fan of baseball. Another large event coming up in the next 2 weeks is the World Baseball Classic. So I'm excited for that and would love to be able to go to a game. And fortunately, I'm not able to this time around. But man, the one year that I attended a few games in San Diego, that was exciting. Great, great opportunity to be there. A great fan base, great atmosphere overall. So, yeah, that's coming up.
I know there's a lot of people who are like diehard sports fans and get really, really, really into it. And I've always admired that. I was always like, that's really cool. They seem like they're having a lot of fun, but I've just never been one that's been like that invested into sports. But I've been to like Super Bowl parties or just like at sports bars and stuff. And to me, what is always amazing is how some fans can get so upset and they're like so emotionally invested in a game. And it like if something bad happens or somebody strikes out, it like ruins their whole day. And I'm always like, it's just a game. But I guess maybe I don't understand. Maybe I don't have the like same heart for it. So to me, I'm just like, it's no big deal. And to them, it's like earth shattering.
As a fan, I can share sentiment as a player. Like if I'm playing street ball, if I play with my friends, I'm very competitive. I hate losing, and I give it my all at all, always. Um, but as a fan, yeah, I don't get that emotional. I don't get that passionate. I enjoy the games. I enjoy the teams. I cheer for the teams, but I'm not that passionate where if the team loses, then it will break or make my day.
Yeah.
I'm not that far in, but I do enjoy going to the games, especially the baseball games. So, but yeah, I do see your point as some people take it to the next level, and hey, by all means, to each their own. But come on, I think there's sometimes it's a little bit too much.
Just a little bit. I mean,
Yeah,
I've gone to some football games, some baseball games, and they are fun. I do enjoy going. I enjoy going. The atmosphere, the snacks. Well, the ones that I can eat, anyways. And it's a fun environment to be in. So I definitely see the appeal of going. If I actually like was into sports and like cared more about the game, it'd probably be even more fun for me.
yeah, that would definitely help. Well, Heather, hey, for today, what do we have? We have it's one of our favorite parts of the show. We do the what would you do situation, right?
It is,
And
and
this
today
is
you have a couple of scenarios for us, right?
yeah, a couple of short scenarios. I wanted to keep it short, brief, but also put something a different perspective on what's going on and different scenarios of things that actually happen. And again, these are dramatized scenarios, not a real client situation that we come across. But every scenario here is based on situations agents clients deal with all the time.
Yep.
So
And for you guys at home, your job isn't just to listen; it's to decide who's right, who's wrong, and who probably needs therapy.
absolutely. So let's jump right in.
All right, I'm
So,
ready.
so the first one is I call it the inspection bombshell. Right? It's the perfect house until it's not.
It always is.
Right? So we have a home listed at around 610,000. It goes
Okay.
on the contract in 5 days, full price. And then from the inspection, they noticed that the roof has about 3 to 5 years left. The HVAC is at the end of its life, and there's minor foundation cracking. The buyers ask for 16, 18,000 in repairs or credit, but the seller feel like the price at the home, you know, it was priced accordingly because they know some things needed to get done. You know, they get into more negotiation. The buyer feels blindsided, and and the seller feels like he's getting nickel and dime, and the appraisal hasn't happened yet. What would you do in this situation? Well,
Well, I mean, that's the point of a due diligence period, right? That's why we ask for the due diligence period. That's why we do the inspection. And I think it's all about communicating with your client and then knowing the market that you're entering and you're bidding on that house. So the first thing is, so obviously it's a full price offer. You said around like six something, right? Almost seven?
yeah, 610.
610. Okay. So at 610, you're looking at, the nicer homes. So it's probably in a nicer area, nicer so let's just assume it's a subdivision. So my first thought would be what is the median price range of this subdivision, and is this an opportunity to get into a nice subdivision, a higher class subdivision, without paying higher class prices? And if that's what it is, then yeah, you're going to expect that if a house in that subdivision is listed below what all the other houses are, there's going to be a reason why, and maybe like prep your buyers accordingly. um, but I think it really just depends, and that's a conversation you need to have with them too, up front, about how much are you willing to spend in getting this house to where you want it to be. Like, if the due diligence, or not the due diligence, if the home inspection comes back and there's a lot of stuff wrong, how much are you willing to eat in order to get the house that you want? So at that point, it really just becomes a conversation for me, and I kind of need to know a little bit more details to say how I would handle it. So what do you say? Did we know we were going into a nicer subdivision on a lower budget, or is this like an average house and they're in an average price?
This is average price in that market.
Okay, so it's not like a fix me
Yeah.
up price in a nice
Now,
subdivision.
here's another question for you: as if you are representing a buyer, looking in that price range, see these properties. When you first show the property, you can tell there's a few things that may need to be done on it, right?
Hmm.
Before you place an offer, would you go back for another showing? Or will you just place an offer after the first showing?
I guess it would depend on the market. If it's like a couple of years ago where it's a hot market and everything is flying off the market, then yeah, we would probably just put the offer. But in today's market, we would go back. Like, if they liked it, or even if they loved it, we would still go back, and we do typically, even after we're under contract during the due diligence period, go back again and look and kind of see. But we'll probably go back and look. But kind of knowing that now that that's an average price and an average thing, then that kind of changes my stance on that a little bit. So if the sellers are like, oh well, we priced it that way, knowing all this stuff needed to be done. Well, if it's an average price for that area, then no, you didn't. Um, so there's that. And then uh, the roof. What was the other thing you said? It was the HVAC.
The HVAC unit is kind of at the end of its life.
Got it. Got it. Where and then was this stuff disclosed on the disclosures?
Now, that's a tricky question because on here in Alabama, it doesn't need to be disclosed, right?
Oh, you
Over on you,
you guys don't have, like, we have a seller's disclosure where we say like when the last time things got serviced, how old they are, things like that, and you guys don't have that.
they don't have to.
Oh,
So
interesting.
they can place it. Generally, some people place the notes, but they could also say seller doesn't know when the last time the unit was replaced or someone. It's about one of the very few states that is a buyer beware type of setting. So as a buyer, you have to do the due diligence on making sure everything lines up the way that is in the system, or find more information if you need it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. um
So assuming that they did disclose, hey, this was replaced so and so, what will be your approach?
Assuming that they did disclose it,
Yeah.
um I would say I would go back and I would just give our offer, and I would say, hey, this is the current market. We actually haven't got the appraisal. We don't know what this house is, going to come back appraise wise. But I can tell you right now that they are not really thinking that they want to pay, the price for this house with that stuff. If you guys aren't willing to come down on anything, I say we extend due diligence, make sure we get that appraisal back, and then we go from there. And if the other side is not willing to do that, then we pretty much know they're not gonna. If they're not willing to extend due diligence or allow the appraisal to come back, kind of gives me everything I need to know. But that would be my approach. I would say let's extend due diligence so we have all the information on the table and we can go from there.
Absolutely. I would at least also, with the minor foundation cracking, I will get a professional company, go take a look, give us their you know, their feedback, the results on that, and if anything needs to happen on that, if the sellers are willing to cover the expenses at closing, some of this company you're able to pay them at closing for any repairs that they do.
Yeah. Well,
Then it
if
may,
but on that note though, like if you've already said, hey, the roof and the HVAC, and the other side's like, yeah, no, we're not interested, we're not going to cover any of that. I don't know that I would want my buyers to spend money to have somebody come out and look at the foundation if the roof and the HVAC are going to be a deal breaker, because that just seems like throwing money away at that point.
yeah. Well, I
But
think that's a
definitely
conversation
inspect
that
it after. Definitely inspect it if we think it's going forward. Yes, we would want to know.
exactly. It's a conversation that will be had. It's like, hey, I know you initially you were not open to, but we're gonna do further testing,
Yeah,
and if something comes up, would you be open to renegotiating or opening that door again? Because if not, then of course, like you said, we're not moving forward. We're gonna terminate that contract contingent on the inspection. But you have to be willing to open. And something I heard from Sirhan said is negotiation in a transaction is whoever is willing, who has the power is whoever is willing to step out
yeah,
of the transaction. And in this situation, the buyers, and like you said, if they're not willing or they know what it takes to get them to where they want and they're okay with those expenses, then it's a deal to be had. But if they're not and they're open to walk away, then by all means,
yeah.
walk away.
So one negotiation tactic that I use, because in Georgia you're legally required to disclose everything you know about the house. And so when you're putting offers in on houses and stuff, we don't ever really send over, like if you have an inspection report and you send over the complete inspection report to the other agent, that's kind of a dick move, because then they know every single thing that's wrong with the house. Now sometimes the other side will ask for the report, and with the permission of the people who paid for it, which would be your buyers, you can give it to them. um, but one thing is, when, like, there's just a few things that are wrong, but like say they're major things and you've been in negotiations, you're in your due diligence period, you're in negotiations with the other side, and they're not budging on it. They're like, no, we're not going to pay for it. We're not going to pay for it. Um, we don't, we'll just find another a buyer if you guys don't want the house. They'll come at you with that. And I'll say, okay, well, keep in mind, you know now about these issues and you have to disclose them. So find another buyer who's going to be okay with paying for this on their own and going forward. And that oftentimes is enough to get an agent to go back to the other side and be like, look, at least they're willing to play ball with this. Because if we lose this one, we may find somebody who's not.
Exactly. And if not, how much longer is it gonna sit there?
And it's going to show on the market history that you guys went under contract and then it fell out and all of this, and or at the very least it'll show pending.
Exactly. So it's a number of ways to go around it. I think that's the beauty of it, right? It's you have to find that common ground. I always truly believe real estate is it's not a transaction when one side wins. It's a transaction where both sides wins, and you have to find what's important for both sides and find that common ground to make it happen, where everybody, you know, it worked out for everybody. But sometimes the egos they interfere, and transactions don't happen because of that. Let's
Yep.
be honest. Whether it's agents, whether it's buyers or sellers, they look at one thing, and that's the one thing that matters, and that will break their transaction. So, but it's fun. I love that part of the business. I love understanding where people are at and making things happen that work for everybody.
I thought you were going to say you love working with people with egos. I was like, that's
No,
not fun.
no, that's not me. I, I let those people go. You know me. I'm the most calm person in the room. So,
I know I am not the most calm person in the room. I am definitely the most, like, I don't know, anxiety ridden, like just ready to, like, off with their head type of person. I am not the calm person. I'm not the rational person. Don't come to me for like calm, rational advice. You'd be like, I
like
don't like them.
Ellie the other day, she's like, you're like the perfect balance between your sister and your brother. Your sister, they're both funny people, but one of them is calculated. One of them is thinks it's calculated, but it's not in some areas, or calculates or overthinks in some areas. And you're like in the middle. You calculated, plan for something, but you're so spontaneous at the same time. Like you can just pick up and go. If I tell you let's go to Alaska, you don't ask me a question. We just go to Alaska. And but at the same time, there's a number of things that I need to be calculated about and make some rational decisions. So I see them on different angles, and you just came in and you grab what you needed, what you wanted, and you just make the perfect combination. I'm like, well, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a good balance to have.
Yeah. Now going back into the next scenario, this is interesting because now we have the appraisal gap dilemma.
Okay.
So the market says yes, but the appraiser says no. The home listed at 450, multiple offers accepted, and the offer accepted was at 480. The appraiser comes back at 455, but the buyer only has 5% down. No extra cash, not a big, you know, for a big gap. The seller says we had offers. Now what?
And they're not willing to come down at all?
No. They have multiple offers in place but this particular buyer that they accepted the offer from does not have the cash to bring it up to 580, and the property only appraised at 455.
Hmm.
What do you think?
We had one and I'm trying to think of because it worked out. What did we do?
You had a similar scenario like that?
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Oh, which one was here? Because I feel like we had a similar scenario, but maybe no, because do we put it into the, no, because if it want to appraise, it want to appraise, it only cover for that much. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on this.
Well, 580, 555, 5% is what, 24,000?
Everybody get out their calculator.
Right? So 480, 5%, that's 24,000. So really the only difference in cash that he needs is only 2,500. So there's a way that you can put that in there as a concessions in the back end.
Yeah. I was just going to say the buyer and seller could try to split it. You could do you and the other agent. I mean, but it depends on the loan. It depends on the loan. It depends on that's something that has to be worked out with the loan because there's certain loans that have certain rules. So it really depends on a, the particular situation. But there are ways. If you said 2,500.
Well, the 5% is only 2,500, but the key difference is uh, the bank is only giving him 455, not the 580. So
Ah, okay,
he needs to come up with that difference in cash.
gotcha.
So it may be a deal that unfortunately,
You might have to. Well, what about disputing the appraisal?
okay, we can do that. We can venture in that route. Uh, get another appraisal company.
Was there? Well, I guess there probably was, depending on the loan, because
In
it
some
still seems like
cases,
it's what.
you may just have to drop it.
Yeah, I think there are cases where you definitely have to drop it, and it's a case by case base. Um, but I would like if your clients love the house and you're really trying to make sure that they get where they want, I would try every avenue first. And then, you know, if
Oh
you can't
yeah,
walk away, you have to walk away.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Talk to the bank and see what can be done, and who's your finance partner to see how this deal can happen. This is where creative finances come into place, right?
Yep, this is where creative finances come into play. And I'm trying to think of how we did that other one. But I think maybe the other side came down. I think we actually I think we negotiated and like some stuff, but it does suck. But occasionally, and it's not all the time that houses don't appraise, but sometimes they don't appraise, and that really sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does. Just imagine, right? This is the ideal home, everything you want to, and unfortunately, there's a situation where people are gonna come in and they're gonna be short in catch, right? They budgeted for a particular number. They need help throughout the transaction to make this deal happen, and unfortunately, situation like this that it limits the playroom that they have in order to be creative with the deals without having cash on hand, then may have to look somewhere else. But certainly, you want to explore the different options that they have, and then be able to make that decision. At the same time, as a seller, you also don't want to spend too much time on it, right? Because you had other offers in place, and maybe one of these other buyers is able to make this deal happen. So again, going back into understanding where everybody's at and trying to find that common ground for that works for everybody, I think is key. Because if I'm the seller and I need a way on you to be creative to find a way to make this deal happen when I'm already being flexible from the offer that we accepted,
Yeah.
and you're not able to happen, then I'm gonna put a time limit on there. You know, if you don't make it happen in the next 3 days, we're gonna cancel this contract, and I'm gonna go back and say, hey, house is still available.
And you said the seller wasn't willing to do seller concessions or any more seller concessions?
No, we didn't. No, it didn't specify. So it's just a matter of trying to find a creative way to make it happen. You know, but again, if the bank is only giving 555,
Yeah. That's still a big,
yeah, that's a $25,000 gap on top of the 3%, 5% that they need.
yeah. I mean, I would always go back, first thing, talk to the lender, um, and see if there is any retirements, IRAs, anything like that that they didn't use. Um, or maybe like adding somebody to the loan, you know, seeing something like that, if that could help. Um, get them a higher. So,
Well, they could try that. So yeah, they gotta. It's certainly a moment to be creative
or they
and
could go
find a
talk
way.
to us and we could set them up with some creative financing and we could go from there.
Yeah, we have a team for creative finances that could definitely look at the property and find a way to make this deal happen. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that's these two scenarios that come, different angles. Both put the buyers and the seller at a situation where you really, need to be making a decision fast, rational, and be able to go in one way or the other. And as an agent, you need to be able to guide these clients in the best way possible. That way, everyone comes out okay throughout the transaction.
Yeah.
Um, but one, having the inspection and other things that are needed, certainly something that needs to be looked into and and determine what the best approach will be. And again, that changes from your end, state to state. Where here the sellers originally were not did not have to disclose anything that's wrong with the property. But again, that's why we have a inspection addendum. So if anything comes up, we have the right to be able to cancel the contract and you know present the sellers with an opportunity to fix what's wrong with the property. And if not, then we can go separate ways.
And I'm definitely glad the market is back in a spot where we have due diligence periods again, because I remember when I first became an agent and that wasn't even a thing because houses were just going so quickly that people were putting sight unseen offers, zero due diligence days. It was insane. It was literally insane. And seeing everything that I've seen throughout the years of being a real estate agent and seeing different houses that I think I remember how we did that other one. I think what it was, and I may be wrong, I may be confusing two things, but I think they did add a parent or somebody that had cash, and then they were able to close the gap with that. I think, but I'll have to double check
Okay.
because I may be wrong and I may be confusing two things, which is probably likely.
Hey,
but I
but you're onto something.
but I think that's what it was. I think they like, but I actually think what happened was I think we had to actually like terminate. And then I think they like redid everything, added somebody, had more cash, went back in. Maybe I am confusing two things. I will find out. I will update you. I will to be continued. Dun dun dun. Or I'll just come back with like a wild story about this real estate endeavor that we did, and that it will have nothing to do with this. But anyways,
Sounds good. We'll bring it up on Thursday or next Tuesday. What would you do?
I'll ask Tony, and he'll be like, Heather, you were on crack. Like I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm like, yes, you do.
You just made the whole thing up right now.
I no, I swear, I remember this, but
All right. Hey, it goes along with the scenario, so you're onto something. You're good.
right? What would you do? I don't know because I can't remember it correctly.
Hey, hopefully during a scenario like this, you'll remember what to do or come up with something that will be able to help the clients and put them in the best spot, right? So
Hey, yep.
I think I like these scenarios because of that. You know, it opens you up to potentially, different scenarios where that are happening out there, and just to be proactive and start thinking about ways and solution for this. Of course, everything, if it were to happen, is going to be different based on what you have in front of you. But just the fact that these things are happening and you get to think of different ways to be, um, to find a solution for them, I think that makes us better agents, better buyers, better sellers because we're anticipating and we see these type of scenarios that could we need to maneuver around, be able to find solutions to. So then
And
this is great.
yeah, and it does suck, like you said, because sometimes there isn't a solution. Sometimes there isn't somebody that can come in with cash and gift money, or somebody that can do anything for them. There's no creative finance. There's no nothing. So sometimes the only solution is to walk away, and it sucks, but sometimes that is a solution.
Hey, I always believe if you have to step away, that means the house wasn't for you.
Yep.
The houses, the right house will fall in place, the right deal, the right offering, and things will happen accordingly. It will not make sense at the moment. You're gonna be frustrated. You wanted a house, but down the road you'll be like, okay, I'm glad we made it.
Yep.
Or sometimes you'll be like, damn, I still want that house.
Hey, we have two clients that went under contract, fell through, didn't get the house, and then months later ended up buying that same house, getting it back. So just because it falls out doesn't mean that it's gonna never be your house. Just if it's meant to be your house, it's going to be your house. There's no way around it. If it's meant to be your house, it's going to be your house. So I'm a
Exactly.
firm believer in that too.
So
But
good
all right,
deal.
guys. So if you guys want to be a part of the conversation, not just listen to it, go to our website, www.realtalkha.live to join our Real Talk community. You can also apply to be a spotlight guest on our show, or you can jump on the show with us and weigh in on our What Would You Do? Or Am I the Asshole segments.
And and if this episode made you uncomfortable, fired up, and feel seen, good. That's the point, right? This episode doesn't exist just to entertain. It exists to start conversation, challenge bad advice, and help you make smarter moves in real estate and business.
And I threw us off there because I totally said the wrong thing at the wrong spot. But don't forget, guys, to also drop your opinions in the comment. Let us know where you stand. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss an episode. And we will see you guys on the next one.
All right. See you. This is Real Talk with Heather and Andres.
Bye, guys.
Bye.